Hello everyone. Let me preface this video by first saying I'm not an astrologer by any means, but I've been fascinated by what I'm going to talk about today due to my love of Carl Jung, the great psychiatrist, and a work of his, a book that is called Aion. Now on December 21st, just a few nights away, which just happens to be the night of the winter solstice, we have a very significant and rare celestial and astrological event. It's called the Great or Grand Conjunction, and it is the meeting in the sky of Jupiter and Saturn. And it only happens every 20 years, but it's said that this conjunction really charts our collective path for the next 2 decades when these two planets do meet. Now, this particular conjunction is a very interesting one because Saturn and Jupiter move out of earthly Capricorn and into the airy Aquarius. Now, before we get into what all of that might mean, first a few notes maybe on some of the terms that I've already used so far. A conjunction means the lining up of two or more planets in a particular sign. Now, when this occurs, their vibrations begin to blend and work together, either for enhanced good or ill, depending on the combination of the planets and the sign. Now, a great conjunction is what happens when the biggest planets, Jupiter and Saturn, actually meet up. Together, those two planets are known as the markers of time, and they have been associated with epochal social change, demarcating historical eras and shifts in worldview whenever a conjunction between them occurred. Though the conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn happens every 20 years, and it's always important, their union in 2020 is special and of extraordinary significance. First of all, Jupiter and Saturn will come so close to each other that it will actually be difficult to see them as separate in the sky with our naked eye. They will be just really a tenth of a degree apart, and that's extremely small. And while the time that what I should say is really the last time that they were this close was March 4th of 1226, which was nearly 800 years ago. Now remember I mentioned that this transition marks changes in era. Well, the conjunction in 1226 was at a time when Europe was moving out of what is known as the Dark Ages and into a very significant period or era known as the Renaissance. Also of particular note, because their position will make them look like they are just one star, it is believed by many astronomers and astrologers that the Great Conjunction was the documented biblical Star of Bethlehem, or the Christmas star, which signaled the birth of Christ and guided the Magi, or the wise men, to the baby Jesus. Now, other interesting facts is that Jupiter and Saturn have a pattern of forming conjunctions in the same element of astrology for approximately a 200-year time span. So, for example, the conjunctions occurred always in water signs from the beginning of the 15th century until the 17th century. And they conjuncted always in fire signs from the beginning of the 17th century until the beginning of the 19th century. And then Jupiter and Saturn, since 1802, have conjuncted or have had conjunctions in the earth signs, with the final one having already occurred on May 28th of the year 2000, which happened in the earth sign of Taurus. Now, this December 21st winter solstice conjunction of the year 2020 between Jupiter and Saturn is happening in the sign of Aquarius, and they will continue to only conjunct in air signs until the year 2159. So 2020 is marking the end of a 200-year era of earth sign conjunctions between these two planets. Now, while the earth element signifies focus on material security and conservation of resources that are resistant to change, the new era of air will bring disruption to established orders and dramatic changes in collective ideas. I think we've sort of already seen this sort of happening within our society, but it also brings changes in the way we will communicate. Now, another important point is not only will Jupiter and Saturn be uniting in Aquarius, but they will be entering Aquarius at exactly 0 degrees in the astrological sign. Now, why is this important? Well, the degree is really the most mysterious element in astrology, and indeed, it is the key to all deeper astrological interpretations. The first, the middle, and the final degrees actually carry very important and potent messages. So entering at 0 degrees is highly symbolic. When a planet enters at 0 degrees, there is a major shift and a new script coming. Now, does this mark or indicate a shift into the epic or the long-awaited Age of Aquarius? Some actually say yes. However, there is great debate on when the Age of Aquarius starts. Some actually say it already started and started years ago, but Saturn and Jupiter moving and conjuncting in Aquarius at 0 degrees may definitely be the indicator for us entering the Aquarian age. Now also, Saturn is the ruler of Aquarius, and entering at 0 degrees is extra significant then to this conjunction, which also might be a sign of entering the age of Aquarius. Now, part of the reason for social change when this conjunction occurs is that the energies of Saturn and Jupiter are really massive cases of tensions and opposites. Saturn is the taskmaster, the father figure who wants us to play by the rules, and by many ancient traditions, it was known as the Black Star. Now, Jupiter is our, a good way to think about it is maybe like our expansive, jolly, caring, fun-loving uncle who inspires us to really do more, be more, and share more. Now, depending on where these two planets conjunct, Saturn can kill Jupiter's generosity, or it can actually work to channel it, sort of like maybe a good financial advisor or a money manager who's controlling the spending of, I don't know, a celebrity. But Jupiter also can work with Saturn's energy, either making it more uptight and oppressive, or it can expand and soften Saturn's orderliness to make us feel more secure. The great psychiatrist Carl Jung was very intrigued by astrological conjunctions. Stating conjunctions are striking events and evoke projection onto what's happening in the sky by humanity. He notes in his book Aion, a great book but a difficult book to read, that the great conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn supposedly occurred in the year of the birth of Moses, of Jesus, and some other very important historical events. He was especially fascinated by this Jupiter and Saturn conjunction because they are the conjunction of extreme opposites, good and evil, life and death, dark and light, and whatever or whenever these opposites do come together, we can expect something important to happen. What can we expect really from Saturn and Jupiter entering Aquarius this December? Who really knows? Will strict Saturn take the lead? Will cool Jupiter take over? It seems that Saturn, which is the ruling planet of Aquarius and which is the sign associated with things like air, travel, intellectual property, technology, innovation, and collective life, will take the lead because it's in its sign. And that means expansive Jupiter will be playing second fiddle, or sort of like taking a back seat to Saturn, but it will be intensifying Saturn's energy. Now, to get a sense of what the grand conjunction may look like, we need to really take a step back to March 21st of this year. And I think we can all remember what March was like. It was the date that Saturn actually did dip into Aquarius, and that was really the peak of virus hysteria. And we saw many Saturn restrictions around air-related issues. Air travel was completely shut down, and even the air that we breathe was sort of restricted due to mask wearing and respiratory illness. And we are now really just waiting, amplifying Jupiter to enter this Saturn Aquarius energy, which means an intensifying of all this stuff, I'm sorry to say. But another theme to be aware of as well is Aquarius rules the 11th house, which stands for friendships, collective life, and social togetherness. And as we move into the grand conjunction, we can see Jupiter entering more into this fray and expanding themes that are already laid out there. And while we say social togetherness, it seems that there's actually social distance and socially distant behavior happening right now, and that can actually become more prominent and normalized, as well as online learning and work normalized with Jupiter's interaction. There might even be an amping up of travel restrictions once Jupiter enters the picture. All in all, I guess only time will tell what does come from this event, but it should be an intriguing journey to say the least. I thank you so much for your time and attention. I really look forward to this grand conjunction in a way. I look forward to seeing it, and I wish you all a blessed day and a life of an abundance of love, happiness, and peace.